I was at the Jersey Shore all day today. I never stepped foot on the beach. I briefly walked down the boardwalk to get a Philly cheesesteak in New Jersey. But most importantly, I played a lot of pinball. This is episode number 20 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Thank you very much for joining us here for episode 20 of Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast. It is a commentary. And I'm a man out of quarters. And I didn't need any quarters today because it was free play all day long. If you haven't figured out where I was in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where Springsteen sang about, where the Stone Pony still lives. And I played a lot of pinball at the Silver Ball Museum right there on the boardwalk. It's pretty great. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. It's the weekend before Labor Day, right? And Labor Day next weekend? That's good. I'm still out on the road. I'm now up in New York, back up in the Middletown area tonight. Got work to do tomorrow, but I thought I'd throw together another podcast here real quick before I get back into work and travel and whatnot and talk about what's going on. I love the Silver Ball Museum because for $20 I can play all day long. I stayed in Jersey last night, got most of the way down there. You couldn't stay too close to the coast because it is still summer, so the hotels were just, astronomical if you got within, an hour of the coast. So I was about an hour away. Woke up with no alarm clock today, which was the first day in, I think 14 days or something like that. I've done that, and it was awesome. So that was a nice feeling, and I got on the Jersey Parkway and sat in traffic and found my way in Asbury Park by about 12:30 or something like that. Paid my $20. I got my wristband and I jumped into it. It was great. So we're gonna go right into it.
Trip reports.
Yes, trip report. So the Silver Ball Museum, I've been there a bunch of times. I don't think I've been there since we started the podcast. So if you don't know about the Silver Ball Museum, it is literally on the boardwalk in Asbury Park, New Jersey. It's like the North Jersey, coast. And it is a museum of pinball with a heavy emphasis on EMs and early solid state games. I don't know the exact number of games in there. It's well over 100. I would say it is at least 50% EMs, and then the other 50% out of those games, I would say, well, I'll put it this way. Over 100 games in there are probably 20-ish DMD games. Everything else is electromechanical and solid state, alphanumeric. So it's a pretty amazing collection, and there's a lot of rare stuff in there. They do have some very rare pieces, some non-powered 1930s little pin type games where you're literally using pins to move the ball around, gambling devices, and some just weird stuff, things you don't see everywhere. They also have a Wizard of Oz right front and center when you walk in with a pretty updated code in it. I think it's the same one they've had for a while now, but it does have all the updated code. I spent a lot of time on that today just because it was there and not many people were playing it. Although anytime I started playing, inevitably somebody would stop and stand right next to me and play. But anyway, there's lots of different ways you can come into the Silver Ball Museum. I think they have an hourly option, which would never be enough for me. I guess if I lived local, it might, but if I lived local, I would buy their monthly pass. You can buy a pass that works for the daytime only. For $15 you get until 5 o'clock. But for $20 you get until close. So you get the whole day, which is neat. And in the summer they close pretty late. I think today's a Sunday and they were closing at midnight. I didn't make it that long. But I was there 6 hours, something like that. I probably should have just bought the 5 o'clock pass because I had other places to go see. But, you never know what you're going to end up doing. So I really enjoyed myself. As I always do when I go to the Silver Ball Museum, I walk in, I pay my money, and I go play Centigrade 37 first. That's just always, that's like my little tradition because it was the first time I'd ever seen one of those games in person. And if you don't know Centigrade 37, it's often talked about as one of the coolest art packages and best of the Gottlieb EMs. And I think that It's funny, I kind of bash EMs a little bit as all being sort of the same and boring, but I had sort of an epiphany today with EMs. I don't know if I was just playing good. I had lots of caffeine flowing through my veins, so I was on it. But I have noticed that as I've played more and more EMs, and especially there at the Silver Ball Museum, because they have such high-quality games that are in really fantastic shape, Centigrade 37 is not one of my favorites as far as gameplay. It's like far and away my favorite as far as like looks. If I was gonna like put a pinball machine in a very cool like loft apartment type building and have it be sort of a museum art piece of a really fancy place, it would be that game, because it just looks awesome with, you know, the 1970s clad, you know, girls with, you know, curves. It's just cool. But it's actually not one of my favorites to play. I don't. It just doesn't really line up to my eyes right, and I find myself playing it once and then kind of walking away. They actually have 4 old, you know, wood rail games there too. I think there's only 4 right now, and I have a photo of those. I'll be sure and put that up on the website. Pretty cool. Play the history. It's hilarious watching people play some of those really old games where they don't understand that they have to plunge their own ball because there's no auto plunger to put the ball into the, you know, the shooter lane. That's pretty funny because I saw multiple people stand there and look very confused. In fact, some of their games do have little signs that point an arrow down and say plunge the ball to start. I find myself on those games, I can't help but plunging 2 balls at once, so I have like my own multi-ball going, but that's just me. I know, blasphemy, boo on me, whatever. So the highlights today for me were kind of spread across all sorts of different eras. I really had a lot of fun today playing EMs, and we're going to go through some of those in a minute. But I will say this, they added a Doctor Who to the Silver Ball Museum, which was cool. It was in really good shape. It was playing really fast. But it did have ball save feature turned on, which I don't know if I've ever seen that turned on out in the wild on a Doctor Who. So that was sort of nice. But it kind of kicked my butt today. It hurt me. It hurt me bad. But it was fun to play, and it was in fantastic shape, so I appreciated that. I have spoken before of how incredibly difficult the Theater of Magic is at the Silver Ball Museum, so I went in there kind of wondering if it was still going to be set really steep, and I can report back that yes, not only is that Theater of Magic set really, really steep, you can see the bubble in the levelers all the way to the top of the level, you know, little level yellow liquid thing, which tells you it's very steep, but also right next to it is Attack from Mars. And last time I was there, I think Attack from Mars was being worked on and was not up and going, or the DMD was out maybe, and you could play it, but it didn't have a DMD. Well, it was up and running in great shape. It has playfield wear. It's one of their few games that actually has pretty noticeable playfield wear as Attack from Mars. But that game was set up ridiculously steep also. I almost feel like there's somebody who works there who's training for a Papa tournament or something. So they've set up a couple games really, really difficult, because I mean, these games, you can see the back boxes are next to other games that they should be about level, and they're, you know, like an inch taller. So you can see the little leveler bubble is way to the back of the leveler thing. So just incredibly hard, and it actually kind of turns me off when games are set so out of whack. I mean, I guess if it's the only thing I had and I set it up really steep, I would just get used to it and learn to play it that way. But when the majority of games in a place are sort of set up to one angle or one sort of speed, and then there's these two, you know, let's face it, A-list DMD games that are just set up really hard, it kind of bums me out. I also thought maybe they're trying to, you know, decrease ball times on it, maybe make it hard on purpose, because those are games that are going to get a lot of play and a lot of wear. But their Medieval Madness is not set up that steep. However, Medieval Madness had a bad flipper. The left flipper was stuck about a quarter of the way up and would oftentimes not hold up. If you're trying to hold a ball on the flipper, it would just drop and fall. And it was incredibly dirty still, which it was dirty last time I was there. And I think I said this in episode probably 1, 2, or 3. Clean your damn machines. Like, you have this fantastic collection of machines, and some of them were absolutely filthy. And there was a guy there. One of the guys there was pulling glass off and cleaning. But I noticed there's a big focus on the EM machines. And I think that, and I don't know all the people there, and I applaud them for doing what they're doing. And I'm being super hypercritical, but hey man, I got to talk about something. I feel like the EMs are sort of the babies there, that they get coddled and looked after, and the DMDs are almost like, we have to have these. But Medieval Madness, is pulled onto its own area where it's not near any other DMD games. It's in the window, so people see it, and it's got a bad flipper, and it's dirty, and that's too bad. Also, their Twilight Zone, and I know I own a Twilight Zone, but I can't help but play other Twilight Zones out in the wild to just sort of gauge how they play. The upper left mini flipper was totally dead, not working at all. And I actually pointed that out to one of the people working there, and they just said, "Oh yeah, I think so and so knows, but the rest of the game plays okay." And I'm just like, "Okay, that's cool, whatever." But overall, the games are in great shape, in fantastic shape. I mean, I'm being nitpicky because I can be. It was a lot of fun. So I played a lot of The Shadow. That's a game I really enjoy also. It's a Brian Eddy design, Medieval Madness designer. So that game has become very much in vogue in the past couple years, and it's a fun game. Very innovative, where two of the ramps have switchers where you can switch directions of the ramps with the second, buttons that are behind the flipper buttons. I think that's pretty neat. I'm good at that game for whatever reason. I play that game well, so I always enjoy playing it, which is not the case with, say, Whitewater, which I also played a few games on. I'm not good at that game. I cannot hit that Insanity Falls shot to save my life. I don't know what is wrong with me. I hope nobody ever watches me play that, because I literally sit there and shoot that ramp over and over and try and hit the Insanity Falls shot. And I probably had, of all the times I stopped and played that game today, probably 40 shots at Insanity Falls. I think I hit it twice. I mean, that's really bad. And that's including on skill shots where you know it's coming and it's going to be there. And that is the bane of my existence, Insanity Falls. And it's such a rewarding shot to see the ball come down the left side of the playfield on this clear wavy ramp, and it kind of comes up towards the glass. I love it. I can't hit that. I think that game's slightly, maybe a little overrated nowadays. That's just me. It's kind of a closed-in playfield. I feel claustrophobic playing that game. It's definitely fun, but it's not a rewarding feeling game for whatever reason for me, and that might be because I don't know the rules inside out. I tend to think that about some of these modern games. I think, that game's a little overrated, and then I learn the rules and I get into it and I'm like, oh no, it's actually better than I thought. Take, for instance, Scared Stiff. I actually looked up the rules to Scared Stiff the night before I went to Asbury Park 2 nights ago, and or last night. I guess that would be last night. Excuse me, it's late. And I really read through the rules on that, because I sort of tried to just pick a game that I hadn't played there a whole lot that I knew they had there, and just read the rules, so I really knew what I was doing, so I could have at least a game I could sort of concentrate on trying to go through the modes and really get into. So I did that, and I had a lot of success with that game. What happened to me, though, is if you know Scared Stiff, Elvira Scared Stiff, there are, I believe, 6 modes you start, and these are the modes that are like the leaping... What are they called? The leapers? Leaping leapers? The little leaper guys where you hit the little post targets and it bumps the little... I don't know, some of them are frogs. Bumps them up in the air. Little creature guys. And that's one of the modes. There's the head, the basket, the heads. I don't know. It's so bad. I should know all this. Really technical insight on my part here. But the rollover targets up at the top of the game, you light all those. That's one of the modes. You hit the left ramp 3 times. That completes a mode. The pop bumpers are like the mystery lab thing. And then there's obviously the kind of the main toy on that game is the crate, the scary crate up in the top, where you keep bashing this crate toy and eventually the ball can go into the crate, and that's one of them. And I kept getting, granted, full disclosure, almost all of their games are set on 5-ball play, so I played really good today, and I feel like I cheated all day, but that's okay. I'm playing with what they got. And I kept getting all of the modes completed except for the coffin multi-ball. That's like the big one, the 3-ball multi-ball. The crate multi-ball is a 2-ball multi-ball on Scared Stiff. But the coffin, you have to lock balls on the far left orbit shot. And I really was bad at that shot today. I don't know. I would love to say that maybe the flipper was a little out of adjustment, and that's why I couldn't hit that shot. But I was just sucking at that shot today. So I kept getting, I had all the modes done on the second ball. And that's with 4 balls to go. It was a 5-ball play, and I still didn't get the coffin done. So it was fun though, and I really enjoyed Scared Stiff to a point where I could own that machine. I think that one would stand up because I'm a big fan of like the horror themes. So that's definitely one that I dug. But let's talk about some of the old games. Let's talk about some of the interesting stuff that they have there. It was a busy day there, and I noticed they had birthday parties with a bunch of kids, and we're talking like 8 to 12-year-olds, maybe even younger than that, running around this museum of pinball, and it was sort of annoying. And at times, there would be a lot of traffic in the DMD area. Like, just people lined up, playing Addams Family, Indiana Jones, Twilight Zone, with 3 or 4 flippers, Shadow, Guns N' Roses, all these just packed in. So I really made an effort to go play some EMs today. And here's some of the highlights. I sort of fell in love with the 1975 Gottlieb game Atlantis. Atlantis is so cool. It looks beautiful. It has this great green and blue, like underwater diver motif thing. It has this long row of drop targets on the left side. I think it's 10 drop targets, this giant bank of them. It's really, really cool. And I was sort of reading about games on my phone as I was playing them, and one of the things that I pulled up about Atlantis, because I was having so much fun playing it, is that when you hit 2 drop targets at once on Atlantis, you get a bonus score. And some of these old games, the scoring is small numbers, so any bonuses can really help you add up and get better scores. So that was pretty cool. And originally the designer's name was Jeff Brenner, had said he wanted to actually put targets on this bank of drop targets that the target would encompass like 2 drop targets, like split across them, so that people would kind of get the idea, like, oh, I'm trying to hit 2 of these at once for, premium scoring. But they ended up putting little fishies on them instead, so to fit the theme. The slingshots in this game are actually asymmetrical. One looks like a kind of a standard slingshot, and one's this like further tilted to the left slingshot. Picture it further tilted left, so it's more of a wide open angle. And I actually don't even know if there's a kicker in that one. Might just be a rubber to bounce on. But it's a completely asymmetrical, kind of bottom feed into the flippers. In fact, there's no inlane to the left flipper. It's just this longer, flatter slingshot then the ball rolls down, and then the right side has typical inlanes to the right flipper. So it's really unique looking and just a lot of fun. And with these EMs, most of them don't have much for rule sets other than light these or hit these to advance scoring, or advance maybe one set of lights or targets up a little bit. It's pretty basic, and you're just trying to get the score as high as you can. And I've always found these games incredibly hard. But today I concentrated. I really worked on what I was aiming at, not just flipping the ball around. I had a lot of fun, and Atlantis was one of them that really kind of got me going. It's a beautiful game also, so I don't know. I think it's maybe a gateway drug for me on that. It sort of shares a major characteristic with Centigrade 37, where on the right side of both games there's these lanes of rollover targets that have pins, like nails, like when I say pins, like a pin, like a nail pinball, that guide the ball down, and it's sort of like the game Plinko on The Price is Right, and you're trying to, guide over the lit ones, and then at the very bottom it can either go to the out lane or back to the flipper. And both games sort of have that similar, system over there on the right-hand side. So I think if you said to me if I had to own either Atlantis or Centigrade 37, I'd probably own Atlantis because I think I'd play it more. I just think it's an interesting and fun game to play. I like that a lot. They have a really unique game. It's right by the front, and I had never noticed it before, but it's called Bristol Hills. And it's from 1971. It's a Gottlieb game also. There's only 110 of these games made, which is a very, very small number for this era. In that era, most games were over 1,000 units produced. Most of the games, by the major manufacturers. And the theme of this game is skiing and snowmobile racing, and like kind of a winter theme. And I played it and really, really liked it. It has a track, like a snowmobile racetrack sort of thing, in the middle of the playfield. And as you score and hit targets, you advance the light around. And every certain amount of points advances you. I think it's every 10 points advances 1 spot. So if you hit a 50-point target, you move around 5 spots. And then the laps track up kind of like a tracks a ladder up the middle of the playfield. In doing some reading about it tonight. It's actually a special version of the game Snow Derby, which I'm not that familiar with the 70s games, so a lot of you may be familiar with Snow Derby, which had a much higher run. But this was made especially for a company in Newark, New York, where I actually stayed. I might have done a podcast from Newark, but I stayed there a couple weeks ago on one of my road trips, where apparently there was a ski resort called Bristol Hills, and the local, I think probably distributor, had these made for that area. What's neat about this game is the whole replay thing on pinball machines was illegal in the state of New York, so they did other things with pinball games at the time. And this game has a really neat feature where you earn an extra ball, like the same player, and I believe it's a 2-player game. I think it's a 2-player game, and you earn an extra ball when you get to certain point levels, and it has it on the card. On the right side of the game, telling you, I think it's at 2,400 points you get an extra ball, and you get that extra ball right after, and you actually hear the little knock inside the game every time you reach one of those levels. And once you get the scoring up and going and get the bonuses going, I think I probably got 7 extra balls in this game. I played a long time. In fact, if I was over 50 years old, I would have set the male high score. Because one of the cool things about the Silver Ball Museum is they have a scorecard on top of every game that lists, I believe, 6 different scores. It's like the best men's score, the best women's score, the best men's score, somebody over 50 years old, best women's score over 50, and then it lists the best score of males under 13 and females under 13. So I actually would have, if I had been 51 years old, I would have scored on the scorecard. There's some ridiculously high scores in these, but I really liked the game. It was a fun game, so I doubt I'll ever find the Bristol Hills version, but if a Snow Derby popped up into my life someday, would definitely be an EM that I could bring home. One more thing on the scorecards. I will admit this. What I sort of set as a loose goal for myself at the Silver Ball Museum is I like to look at whatever the high score on a machine by the under 13-year-old female is, and that's what I try and beat. I try hard, and I'm not successful as often as you would hope. There must be some very good 12-year-old girl pinball players in New Jersey, because some of these scores are awfully high. But I did beat that on a good number of games today. In fact, I made notes. I was kind of tracking it as I go. Roadshow, Pinbot, The Shadow, Wizard of Oz, Funhouse, Kiss, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I all beat the 13-year-old female high score. And in Playboy also. I don't know why you're letting your 13-year-old daughter play a Playboy machine, but I mean it's a G-rated machine, I guess, or PG at least. But I don't know. What's Playboy? Well, guess you got to have that talk sometime. So one other game I should mention, because it's so unique and so cool, and it's pretty rare. It's a game called Flying Turns, and this is a Midway game from 1964. There's only 475 of these things made, and it's really neat because it's a shorter playfield game, and the back box actually lights up and has a racetrack in it. So you're looking into this 3-dimensional, deep back box that has like a car racing track in it, and there's 2 little toy cars on the racetrack, and your car actually moves around the track as you score via magnets. Magnets actually move the car around. And so that's very unique in and of itself. But also the way you start each ball is super unique. It has this like dial that you aim the shooter lane. It's a little stubby shooter lane, and you sort of aim it towards these 4, I think there's 4 targets in the back of the playfield, and then you push the button to shoot up out there. So each time you're starting a ball, you're actually shooting at one of the different targets, which are like half a lap or a full lap, or I think there's an extra ball when lit on one of them. It's a pretty cool little game, super rare. I mean, for the collectors out there, this would be something you definitely want to track down, see if you could find one. But look up Flying Turns on the internet and Google that and check that out, because it's really different and really unique, and you can kind of see some of the things that they were able to do even in the 60s, and using magnets and stuff. So it's a pretty neat game, and that's what makes the Silver Ball Museum so great. Is yes, they have some amazing, great modern games. Yes, they have the cool EMs, but they also have some of the old awesome crazy wood rails and just things you're just not going to see every day, or really any day, because there's not a lot of places in this country that have that sort of stuff. So if you're anywhere close to the Jersey Shore, if you're in Philly, if you're in New York, make the trip. It's totally worth it. So after I spent, 6.5 hours or so playing pinball at the Silver Ball Museum, what do you think I did? Think I drove to my hotel? No. I drove to Red Bank, New Jersey. Play some more pinball. Next episode, we will do a trip report on Yestercades in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is a very cool retro arcade, and they have a good selection of pinball machines there. So we'll do a full-on trip report. But I want to just talk about, they had a couple games I'd never played before, and that's kind of why I went. Specifically, I hadn't played, I think I played maybe one time before, roller games. Then I talked about it a bunch last episode, so it was sort of on my mind. They have a great one there. Back to the Future. Never played it before. Went and played it. We'll talk about it next episode. That's my tease. That's my commercial for next episode. But another game I'd never played before that I kind of had high hopes for, and I almost bought one of these games recently, so I was very, very curious. And it has become the subject of a segment of our show that we like to call
Welcome to the D-List.
So welcome to the D-List, to 1992's Data East release, Hook. And we're talking about Hook, the pinball machine, which is based on the story Hook, about Captain Hook from the Peter Pan mythology. This is not directly from the movie, although I believe some of the call-outs are requotes from the movie Hook, but there is no Robin Williams on this game. It's original art. It's pretty cool. So let's talk about this. It's January of 1992 when Hook is released by Data East. Terminator 2 Judgment Day had come out the previous summer of 91, so the game had sort of been changed. The DMD era was here, and Data East rushed into it with a small, little, wimpy 128 by 16 DMD on the game Hook. They had to do something, right? It's actually not as bad as it could have been. It's not that bad. But when you put this in perspective, and Data East gets a bad rap. I am a fan of Data East games. However, the bad rap comes from the fact that Hook came out 2 months before The Addams Family. I mean, that says it all. Look what you're up against. You're up against the biggest selling pinball machine of all time. So let's talk about Hook. The story on Hook is it was originally being designed as a Universal Studios theme park game, like a game about the Universal Studios theme park. And then it was transitioned into Hook when the Hook license came up. The first thing I'll say about this game, and this is why I almost bought the game, on the internet, just based off a guy who had it on the internet. I actually love the artwork and the way this game looks. Just from standing back and looking at it, because it is all original art, it's kind of awesome. The Captain Hook that's drawn or painted on the playfield is really cool, and the artist's name is Paul Ferris. He's actually done a lot of great art. I love it. I think it's really amazing. That's kind of where I lose the game, though. So I spent a lot of time playing this game tonight. The rules escaped me for a while. It was really tough to figure out what was going on with Hook. This is a pretty simple game as far as layout, although they've got a lot of stuff going on. So the first thing you're going to see, I see the artwork first, but the first thing a lot of people see is this giant ramp twisting plastic mass with red lighting on it that takes up a lot of the playfield. And some have speculated that this, it's the left ramp you hit, and it actually takes the ball in an entire 360-degree turn all the way and then deposits it back over on the right flipper. A lot of people think that might have been like a roller coaster type ramp, that if this was going to be a Universal Studios theme park, that maybe that's what was originally planned. It looks pretty cool, I guess, but it takes up way too much of what you're looking at. It hides a lot, the pop bumpers get hidden, some of the stuff in the back of the game gets hidden. There's also a large skull toy right in the middle, and that looks pretty cool. It's neat. Tough shot, because it is right in the middle, and you can get some straight down the middle drains off of that. The skill shot on this game, very much a precursor to Tales of the Arabian Nights skill shot, where it has like a leveled set of targets you shoot like holes, and this is like a plastic one you shoot up to, and the little mini DMD will tell you which one to shoot at, and you'll try and shoot at that for bonuses off of that. I searched far and wide for the rules to this game because the instruction card doesn't really give you a lot to work with, and I did find some rules. Basically, what you're trying to do here is Hook's got his arm up in the air. He's menacing and he's coming after you. And there's some inserts there that are going to be one at a time will be flashing on Hook's arm. And you light, or one's flashing, so you shoot the scoop shot to start that mode. And the modes in this game are, let's go through them real quick. So there's the light bumpers, which make all the bumpers 500,000 points every time you hit a bumper. Timed mode. There's the light croc time mode, which is a countdown shot on the right ramp. So that's going to start at a high number of points and count down. I think it ends at 10 million. It sits there for a few seconds, so you got to shoot the right ramp to get that. There's max X, which gives you like 10 times multiplier on your bonus. Fast scoring, which makes all targets 500,000 points for 15 seconds. There is a skull 20 millions shot, which I think you're probably going to figure that one out pretty easily. It's shoot the skull for 20 million points. And then there's a 5 million point mode, which it gives you 5 million points if you start the mode. Pretty basic. So I had figured that all out. Shoot the scoop, start the mode, go. Then I couldn't figure out how to get another mode to start. I was having issues. Finally, I figured it out. You have to shoot the skull again to then get another mode to start blinking on his arm. So if you get lost on Hook, that's what you need to do. If you get all the modes, you get into this bangarang thing mode. I don't even know what that means. But basically, it's sort of their like quasi-wizard mode where it's like a frenzy mode where everything's worth a lot of points and you shoot it. I didn't get that far with it, but that is what happens. Took me a while to figure out multi-ball. So what you gotta do in multi-ball is there's 3 sets of targets around the game, and you need to hit all of them. So there's 3 sets of 3, so it's 9 shots you hit. And then you shoot a shot to the far back left of this game that has a vertical up kicker. You're gonna shoot that shot, pops your ball out, and that starts multi-ball. And then there's some bonus points available to you on the skill shot to start multi-ball over there on the right. But that's basically the gist of it. The jackpots during multi-ball are going to alternate between your left ramp and your right ramp shot. So where does it go from there? It kind of doesn't. That's really kind of all it does. And I'm glad I didn't buy this game. It does look really pretty. The music's interesting. I think the music will probably be the music you're hearing on this podcast. It's sort of that cheesy 90s, like, hey, we got a computer and we learned how to make some music. Let's go. Sort of rock, theatrical movie type sounds. It's it does its job. It's okay. The call-outs are not from the movie. Like I said, I think they're quotes from the movie redone by actors. Maybe one of the most annoying callouts of all time is in this game, though. And I've seen it referred to as a rooster callout online, but it's not a rooster. It's supposed to be the parrot, I think, because we're dealing with a pirate who should have a parrot. To me, it sounds like a crow crawling, and it happens over and over again. I want to kill this bird, and the bird doesn't even exist because it's a pinball machine. Drives me crazy. Don't like that at all. So they made a lot of these things. They made over 6,000 of these games, which surprises me. But that also sort of tells me why the games are so cheap. Because there is one that has been on the local boards in California. I think he's asking $1,100 for it, and it's in pretty good shape. And he's had it for months and months and months and can't sell it. And I've found some threads on Pinside where people are trying to sell a very nice version of this game, and they can't do it. The sides seem to wear really poorly on Hook. I think it's just paint on wood on this game for whatever reason. So I've seen a few for sale where the wood is just worn, the paint's gone, it looks really bad. Other than that, it's a very shallow game. The ramp shot's kind of cool. I could see this being a pretty good game for somebody younger who's not able to follow the game real deep. There's definitely some scoring exploits on this game. In doing research on this, I found a Papa video, just a play video of this game where he literally just shoots that left ramp over and over and over again, and it just millions of points start adding up. And in the notes, there's some discussion of the other ramp, I believe, being even worse. So I think there was not a lot of thought put into the rules and programming of this game, which is unfortunate because it's kind of a cool looking game. It just needed something else going on. So this is one of those games where I really tried, and it's definitely a D-list title. It currently ranks number 186 on the pin side top 100 list, so it is way down there. It's not a highly thought of game. People aren't rushing to get it. If you want one, you can find one. If you're a big Peter Pan fan, I guess, even though it's really not about Peter Pan much at all, it's really about Hook. If you're a big fan of the movie, which I've never even seen the movie, maybe it's a game you might want. If you have a large collection of movie pins, there you go. I'm trying to find the positive spin on Hook. But as far as gameplay and replay value, I don't think so. So, Hook, welcome to the D-List. Enjoy the company. Glad you're here. Now, before you go sending me any emails or any messages, hey man, your segment isn't called Welcome to the D-List, it's called D-List Wonders. I changed my mind. I liked Welcome to the D-List better. It is what it is. Because some of the D-List wonders aren't really wonders. Super Mario Brothers, which, by the way, I got some hate mail over my Super Mario Brothers commentary. It's okay, man. It's just a pinball machine. Don't worry about it. Mario still loves you. Luigi too. You three can all go off and have a love fest. Grab a Goomba. Do what you need to do. Relax. So it's called Welcome to the D-List. As of right now, it's episode 20. It's time for things to change if they need to change, I guess. So, anyway.
Check the email.
Just a quick dip into the mailbag. I have a bunch sort of stacking up on me again, but I wanted to give a shout out to John in Jersey. He emailed me and said some nice things, and invited me to actually come over and play his restored Gorgar. And I think he has some other games. I believe, I don't have the emails in front of me, but I think he has a Whirlwind and an Earthshaker, which is kind of cool, and also maybe a Star Trek Next Generation. And I was in Jersey, but my schedule sucks. It's so difficult. Someday we're gonna do like a meetup. We're gonna have a Coast to Coast meetup. That's gonna happen. But I'm gonna let them sink into everybody's conscious a little bit more before I get all arrogant and think anybody wants to come hang out. So we'll get there. But thank you, John, for the invite. I appreciate it. Maybe next time. Maybe we'll do that. That would be very cool. And also, I had a Facebook message from James. Here it is. I get messages on like multiple venues. I need to have everyone just email me. That's the easiest way. But on Facebook, James asked me, what do I think of putting LEDs in DMD era games that didn't already have them, and where do you prefer to buy your LEDs? Is basically the nutshell of his question. He wrote me a really nice email, but that's what he was saying. Yeah, I'm a big LED fan. I haven't put LEDs in my Twilight Zone. There's something about Twilight Zone that's just like I don't want to change too much. It's got a couple little mods in it. I think I am going to put a few Target LEDs in it just to make them really stand out. But I like the kind of it's a black and white TV show is the basis of the theme. I like that. So not that one, but Judge Dredd. I actually ordered a lot of LEDs that'll probably be waiting for me when I get home from this trip from CoinTaker. CoinTaker ran a 20% off special on Pinside last week, and I jumped on that. And this is not a commercial for CoinTaker, but I have ordered LEDs from multiple sources for different games over the past couple of years. Pinball Life, CoinTaker, and somewhere else, I believe. And had very good results with both. So I'm often on the search for the bargain, and the last game I did Party Zone with CoinTaker LEDs, and it just came out really good. So I ordered a bunch of CoinTaker LEDs for Judge Dredd, so I hope to have that. That'll be my project in a couple days, weeks maybe. So yeah, definitely, huge LED fan. I mean, playing the two Metallicas, going from the Pro to the Premium, the only thing that kind of irked me was like, oh man, these LEDs look so awesome. So if I do ever decide to pony up and get a Metallica, I'll probably be buying a Pro and installing a ton of LEDs. And so that's what I say to that. Great question, though. We will get into more of the mailbag next time. We're going to wind this up. It's late again. Staying up late a lot. We need to talk next time about the rest of my trip in Jersey. There's some more games to discuss. I've got an in-depth review of a game we've briefly mentioned on the show before, so I won't spoil that yet. We'll wait for that one. Thanks for listening. It's been 20 episodes in. Here we are. And if you want to get a hold of me, the best way is to email me just directly. It's Coast2, that's the number 2. So Coast2Coast Pinball at gmail.com. If you want to add us on Twitter, I'd appreciate it. I'd send out, my blogs off the website, auto post to Twitter, and then the episodes get posted on Twitter, and then anything else I might see while I'm out and about, I'll post right to Twitter, usually before Facebook. So we're at C2C Pinball, C, the number 2, the letter C, Pinball, at Twitter. And then Facebook is facebook.com/Coast2Coast Pinball. And the website, www.coast2coastpinball.com. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Talk to you soon.
You killed Rufio. You kidnapped my children. You deserve to die.
Strike, Japan. Strike true.
Daddy, let's go home. Please. He's just a mean old man without a mommy.
Yeah, Dad, let's go. You can't hurt us anymore.
Bless your child, good form, Jack. After all, what would the world be like without Captain Hook?
All right, 2 things. A, that movie does not sound very good. I will not waste my time on that. And B, why was Peter Pan always a chick? You ever notice that? Like back in the day, person playing Peter Pan was always a woman. I was very confused as a kid when they had like that, what was that short-haired blonde lady, Sandy Duncan, playing Peter Pan? Because I was like, wait, I thought it's supposed to be a boy, but that's a woman. I don't get it. Whatevs.